British schools have decided that we will submit to Islam.
Great, that's what I wanted to hear.
God, modern Britain, you love it, don't you? Anyway, so this is the story here. So Batley school protest, teacher allowed back in Prophet Muhammad image row. So you might remember this. This was a guy who was teaching about blasphemy. So he showed an image that was blasphemous in Islam, say, this is blasphemy in Islam. He'd done this for years. And then, in this instance, for some reason, out of the blue, a bunch of Muslim protesters turned up and demanded this guy be fired. They released his name multiple times, and this is after someone had been killed in France for exactly the same thing. So they were just threatening this guy with death if he's not removed. Disgusting that these protesters did this. And then he's allowed back now. So a review has gone into the whole thing, and they've determined that he didn't do nothing. He didn't do nothing wrong. So they say in here, a teacher who was suspended after showing children a caricature of the Prophet Muhammad. I don't know why the BBC is saying the Prophet Muhammad, as if he's the prophet of all British people or something. You wouldn't say, oh, the Prophet Jesus or something like that. You just say Jesus. It's like the Muslim Prophet Muhammad. That would be the correct way of wording it. And I know that the BBC plays endless word games with this kind of thing. Because remember, whenever they talk about Islamic State, they use the term so-called Islamic State. You ever seen a news report on it? They do it endlessly.
Yeah, it's annoying because even most politicians just call them Islamic State, but then the BBC is like, no, they're all wrong. We're going to call them so-called Islamic State.
Tangent. This is actually David Cameron's fault. He's the one who did this. So he got a big huff about it because he was trying to defend the sanctity of Islam because he's a conservative. So he made a big fuss about it, and then they started doing it. They never used to do it for the so-called IRA. No one ever said that. They just called them the IRA. And I know they're very touchy about word games, so that's not a mistake. Anyway, the independent investigation found the teacher did not intend to cause offence by showing the image. And if he had, then he'd be fired, I guess. The school said it would offer more guidance and training for staff. The image was shown on more than one occasion to students during lessons earlier this year, the investigation found. So the outrage by this Muslim gang outside was BS. This has been happening for years. None of you cared. Then all of a sudden you cared. Why? Because someone in France had been killed for the exact same thing. And then by your actions, presumably you wanted the same thing. You released his name multiple times and then mentioned, we don't want to become like France, do we? I mean, you were just threatening death upon this man. Horrible. So a spokesperson for Batley Multi-Academy Trust said that the school would put recommendations from the report into practice immediately. Keep that in mind. Come back to that. The National Education Union said it was pleased the correct decision had been received following the lifting of the suspension. However, in a statement, Batley Parents and Community Partnership were butthurt. So the statement from them says, given the background of this caricature, the report fails to address how it is possible that teachers were unaware of the offence it would cause. Shut up, barbarians. No one cares what you have to say on this. Not even going to address it. Pathetic. So what about those recommendations that were mentioned that they're going to put into effect immediately? I wonder what they are. Yeah, BBC doesn't tell you.
Oh, that's strange.
Interesting. So we have to go to The Guardian for that one, actually. So if we go on here, yep, you can see this is a Batley teacher suspended after showing Charlie Hebdo cartoon can return. The teacher was suspended in March for showing pupils a drawing taken from the French satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo during a religious classes study in Batley Grammar School. Wrong. It's not Charlie Hebdo. I don't know why The Guardian is so stupid.
It's the Danish one, wasn't it?
It's the Danish cartoons. They literally say in the original articles about this that it's Mohammed with a bomb as a turban. And they're like, yeah, that's Charlie Hebdo. Never happened. Charlie Hebdo never published that cartoon. It's this one. It's this one here, which is the Danish cartoons. I don't know why they can't just get simple facts right, but whatever. So let's go back to the Guardian article. The trust said these including, the things they're bringing through that they're going to implement. The trust said that these included establishing a structured approach to quality assurance of the individual teacher planning and a more rigorous monitoring of teaching aids. So they're going to, review the plan more and make sure there is no offences to Islam in there. Okay, not the worst thing in the world. Maybe if they were being proper about it, but they're not going to be proper. It's the next thing that's horrible. It pledged never to use images of the Prophet in any further lessons. And the school said they're implementing that immediately. Never to use images of the Prophet in any further lessons. That's the wording. So, because it offends Muslims, we're never going to do it again in any British school.
So they successfully intimidated the school into doing what they wanted, more or less.
Threatening terrorism works. That's the message to be learnt. That's the message that the government is sending to people here by buckling on this. I mean, you might think it'll win. Well, the guy is being able to go back to teaching. He won't be able to teach at that school. MI5 will make sure he never goes back to that school because he'll have his head chopped off.
Yeah, there's no way that this guy would want to teach again after that.
Well, he might go teach at another school, but he'll be sent to somewhere like Devon or whatnot, where the religion of peace is not so prevalent. So, but
Thankfully so, yeah.
the government completely puckling on this. So I mean, I'm embarrassed that they've not done more, but we'll see why in a minute, I reckon. So Gavin Williamson, the Education Secretary, stepped into the controversy in March with the Department of Education in issuing a statement, which said, "It is never acceptable to threaten or intimidate teachers." True. "We encourage dialogue between parents and schools when they emerge." That's it. No, like, thing about the cartoons or whatever. Like they say here, however, the nature of the protests we have seen, including issuing threats and the violation of coronavirus restrictions, completely unacceptable, must be brought to an end. You've already said that in the first line. And then they don't say anything about the fact that, no, we have the right to show cartoons in this country. Don't care if it offends you barbarians. Like, that doesn't matter. We've got over this. We did this hundreds of years ago. Like, we're living in the 21st century now. I don't know why you're living in the 6th. But, no correct answer from the government there. And we can only speculate why, so...
Cowardice is probably it. They don't want to be a target. No,
I'm gonna do my own speculation here, and I think there's something more going on, because as the Guardian informs us later on, that there's a by-election. Batley in Spen, the constituency where the school is and many parents are based, faces a by-election to replace its MP, who's been elected as a mayor, so she's vacating her seat. There's a by-election in this seat here. So we go to the next one here. This is the Labour candidate. Yep. You want her opinion on the whole thing? Well, the Guardian quotes her as saying, "I am pleased that measures will be put in place to ensure that the offence caused does not happen again." Oh, wonderful work, Dimmy. Fantastic. "And I welcome that the school has said about that, but it is completely unacceptable that a teacher was forced into hiding and his family were put at risk." So, it's unacceptable that he was threatened. Good, we can all agree on that. But you shouldn't have offended Islam. I mean, how do you not sound like an apologist for what just happened here?
Yeah, it's
Vote Labour.
Absurd. How are you going to win over people as well as a candidate where there were people trying to threaten a school teacher and, well, I know what you're going to say.
Win over people, as if the average public makes up the constituency of Batley and Spen.
I mean, I've never heard of it.
So
I live in a southwest bubble, what can I say?
Yeah, so we'll get into the kind of people she's winning over. But that's the Labour message. And they don't stand tall on this. They stand weak. They stand so weak that they're literally just guaranteeing that if you threaten a teacher because you offended Islam, you'll get your way. The Conservative candidate, not much better, but at least didn't become a massive cuck over the whole thing. So this is his account. I could find nothing of him talking about the situation. Presumably he just zipped his mouth and walked away. So that... But the by-election also isn't just a complete joke. Labour lost 12% at the last election. And then if you go to the next link here, this is, what is it, like Britain Elect, saying that with the voting patterns as they are, it's actually too close to call in the by-election. So the Conservatives actually have a chance of winning it. So presumably that's why he's zipping his mouth and keeping his mouth shut. So if we go to the next link here, which is just a reporting that Rory's done. And if you go in here, Rory says that in the school, there was a survey done and 23.5% of the students identify as white British. And in the 2011 national census, it found that 32.4% of the people in Batley West identified as Muslim, 55.5% in Batley East.
So it's more or less, what, 1/3 Muslim in this
Batley
constituency?
East,
Majority.
So, and then you combine, 55%. So then you combine the whole region, and that's a big voting block you got there. It's almost like if you import people with the kind of problems that happens in the third world, you get those problems. You don't just import the people, you import their problems too. And their problems in this case is Islamic blasphemy laws that have been brought by the UK. And political parties will say nothing, or will just cut to them in the case of the Labour Party, because they want their votes. It's that simple. If you replace the populace in an area with another group of people who believe that blasphemy laws should be the law, what are you going to get? Political parties that do nothing but cuck to blasphemy laws. So if I was in this constituency, I'd probably be voting bin men if I could. Might wonder what the heck I'm talking about. Bin men. So bin men kick up a stink in support of the suspended teacher. The bin men. Bin men are the only people standing up for this teacher in this area. It's pathetic. Brian Stamford, the Secretary of Tamsdale Trade Union Council, has submitted an emergency motion for the National Conference of the Trade Union Councils in June to champion the cause of the suspended teacher. The motion urges the NEU and all other unions to support the teacher and to publicly condemn those by demanding his dismissal. I go a bit further. I think they demanded his death, quite frankly, in their wording. It notes that blasphemy laws were abolished more than a decade ago and adds the dogmatic restraints should not be imposed on the religious education curriculum. Based.
Absolutely.
Based Binman of Batley. It kills me that like the only people talking sense here, the proper working class. I mean, as I mentioned here, this guy is a retired electrician who's been in the trade union movement since the 1970s. I mean, for a northern area like this, that's exactly what I'd expect. And he's it kills me that he's the base guy here, and the Conservative Party is zipping their mouth, say nada. Why? Might not win this one seat, as if you need another seat as well. Like you've already got like 2/3 of the country, or whatever seats. You can do anything you want, anything at all, and instead you're like, no, let's win more seats. For what reason? Power. For what reason? Power's sake. So, also he mentions that there are no blasphemy laws in the UK. That's, sorry to tell him, false. We got rid of the blasphemy laws against Christendom. Being an atheist, happy about that, but we didn't get rid of the blasphemy laws against Islam or wokeness. And if you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about, Section 127 of the Communications Act and such laws like this, as well as Section 5 of the Public Order Act, which criminalise things as being grossly offensive or causing alarm and distress, which are then just applied throughout the lens of whatever the police force of the day is looking. So if in the modern day, if you're against wokeness, then you're a criminal. So he says, Mr. Bamford claims that the NEU officially attempted to pressure him into withdrawing the motion on the basis that it was unhelpful to draw further attention to this issue.
Unhelpful.
The National Education Union, the one the BBC quoted as being super happy that this decision's been made, they called him up and said, how dare you try to defend this teacher? That's unhelpful to the situation.
What? In what world? What? Just like, yeah, defending a teacher from showing a picture of something that people of a religion don't like. Just like, well, he's educating them in the first place. He's just saying this is is an example of blasphemy. Here it is. This is maybe something to avoid. I certainly think he would probably do that now.
But like the based old world working class type here, the retired electrician, is like, hang on a sec. You know, Britain's bloody great. We shouldn't have blasphemy laws, and no one should be supporting them. In fact, we should be disavowing them as a movement. And he runs up against the modern trade unionist types, who are all just a bunch of neo-socialists, and the National Education Union here being the example, and saying it's unhelpful to disavow blasphemy. What do you mean? Who cares? Who cares if it's unhelpful to your Marxist agenda? Get rid of blasphemy laws. So the based electrician here in response said, he said that he has no intention of abandoning the motion, adding that the school curriculum should not be dedicated by an indignant mob.
What a great way of describing it as well.
Bravo. Bravo to Mr. Bamford there. He's a great guy, and salute to the bin men of Batley. Like, the only people in this story with any honour. Everyone else involved in the positions of power seems to be completely pathetic. I mean, the only people I've seen talking out on this in a proper way have been the anti-woke types, so the Brendan O'Neill, the Spectator, who's the guy who used to write to Tinia McGrath? I can't remember his name. Andrew Doyle. People like this, and they've all done great. But it's just so pathetic to see the Conservative government essentially saying nothing if they can help it. And I can only speculate it's because they know there's a by-election and there's a chance of them winning. Yeah. So shut your mouths.
Yeah, I mean, at least it would be one less Labour seat, but then if this is the cost as well, surely they should be strong on this to disincentivise it. Say, we're not going to tolerate you trying to use mob violence to intimidate people into not doing stuff that you don't like.
Toby Young as well, people are mentioning in the chat.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Great on this as well. Free Speech Union would be great. But also just a seat? Who cares? Like, you already control the parliament beyond a reasonable expectation. Like, you've got an almost super majority of the place. I mean, you only need a majority to pass whatever the heck you want. So I don't know why they care about, we'll have one seat. And what do we do to get the one seat? Sacrifice liberalism. Yeah, that's worth voting for. It's just pathetic if that is the real reason why they're doing it. And if it's not, please explain why. Just Gavin Williamson, who's been great on free speech within universities, why were you unable to disavow blasphemy laws in this case? You're the education secretary. This is your wheelhouse. Why were you not able to do it? Why are you only able to disavow violence? Not the people calling for blasphemy laws. Say that blasphemy laws are wrong. We should be able to show pictures of the Islamic prophet because we're a free country. And instead he just...
If you enjoyed this segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full broadcast live every weekday at 1 PM UK time on lotuseaters.com.